I'm not as funny as Richard, but I got my moments. So I'm the youngest of all the boys. My name is Daniel Torres, as you all already know. I had a very, very happy childhood growing up. And when Joe said earlier how he had asked Mike Diaz whether or not he was a good father, that blew me away. I don't know if you saw my reaction over there. I broke down. Because lots of times, if you would ask my daughters, they're sitting right there. I got 3 other ones that aren't here right now, but I always tell them that, you know, I just wish I could be half the father my dad was, you know. And it was funny when I heard Joe say that, because it was like, wow, you know, I say the same thing to my kids, because he was a tough act to follow as far as a father. I remember when I was little, and you got about a handful of proud moments in your life as a man growing up. And one of those is when my dad offered me my first pechera, nail labor. And I was about 7 years old or so. And I was so proud of having that nail labor, that pechera. And I would put it on, or he put it on for me because I couldn't do it myself because you tie it behind your back. And I would go around like a little kid, and he gave me a hammer, and he bought me a little hammer, and I would go and start hitting stuff like a little kid, playing with dirt and stuff like that. And I started going on jobs with him when he was going out through the neighborhood and going on other jobs, building houses, and he was teaching me, you know, the tools of the trade, so to speak, as far as carpentry. I finally got to talk to Tristan today, his grandson, as we started digging Dad's grave today, and he was telling me how Dad showed him, you know, the tricks of the trade as far as carpentry with him, you know, how to roof, how to measure, how to use the tools. He taught him how to drive, taught him how to shoot a gun. And it blew me away because that's exactly what Dad did to me. You know, and I felt at peace at that point when I heard him say that. Because Dad was always teaching. He was always teaching me. He was always teaching Richard, Joe, anybody who would get around him. He would teach them basically the way of life and how to be, how to grow up. He raised Nana since she was young. She wasn't his, but to him, she was. And that's just the type of person that he was. Just like he took in Gloria's family. I mean, you're around him for 5 minutes, you realize what type of person he is. How big of a heart he had. I have a lot of memories just like Richard does, just like Joe does and Nana does. And like we could be up here forever talking about the memories that we've had of him. But I can remember every single time that I would get on the phone. He would ask about the girls. Like, papi, ¿cómo están las huercas? I said, oh, okay, Dad. Emily's over here in Denton going to school. Natalie's in San Antonio. It seems like Every conversation went the same way. But it never failed. He always asked about my daughters. And it never failed every single time before we hung up. He would be the first one to say, "Abba, I love you." Just like Saturday was the last time I spoke to him. And very difficult to understand his words. Gloria got on the phone, gave me an update on how he was doing, and stopped eating and so forth. But one thing that I did hear, and I heard it in my mind clearly when we hung up, he said, "I love you." When Joe read that letter, as far as Dad loving us unconditionally, that's no question. Like Richard said, he would do anything for us. And like what Richard said, as far as the stories of running in and breaking down the door with this woman in the burning house, didn't know that. But I'll never doubt it. I love my father, I love my dad. He did everything for me. He taught me how to be a father. He taught me how to be a dad to my daughters. We all make mistakes throughout life. We all have our moments. But we have to grow from there. And we have to move on. And we have to trust our Lord and Savior. We have to trust God. And we have to trust what we learned throughout life. And I'm happy that he was my father, and I won't take anything back. The only regrets that I have is the very last, not seeing him more, not spending more time with him. I told him when I first heard of his diagnosis, his lung cancer, I told him that I'll come see you every weekend. And I didn't. And I'll hold that regret for the rest of my life. Because I didn't know Saturday was going to be the last time we were going to talk. Also, I promised him that me and the girls will get together and we'll go fishing. So you got to get better, Dad. You know, I'm okay. Every single time I'll talk to him, he'll tell me he's okay. And he'll get excited every single time I remind him that, you know, let me get better, we'll go fishing with the girls. And I told him that on Saturday again, and I could hear excitement in his voice, not knowing that I was not going to get the opportunity to be able to make that happen. But he was loved by a lot of people. All of you guys here. You're here for a reason, to celebrate and remember the life of Jose Torres, my father. Because you loved him as I loved him. And I appreciate every single one of you that are here. I grew up with a lot of you, of course, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins that I haven't seen in years. My dad used to tell me, he said, "It's the only time that we get together is when funerals." My dad wanted to get together a lot more often with our families. Let's not wait for another funeral to get together. Let's get close. Let's be a family. That's what Dad missed, and that's what I miss. Thanks.